All right, my name is Drew, and this is my author discussion presentation on Octavia Butler. She was a historic African American author and was able to express her ideas through her groundbreaking works. Throughout this presentation, I'll discuss everything from her early life all the way leading up to her significant achievements, her influence, and then I'll be discussing Parable the Sower, which is a novel we read from her, specifically the graphic one, um, in this presentation. Starting off with her childhood and education, she was born in Pasadena, California, which is a really poor city, and it was not lawfully segregated, but rather practiced to be segregated. So, after losing her father, who was a shoe shiner, it ultimately gave her mother the role of raising her alongside her grandmother, and this all happened at the age of 7, losing her father. Um, and growing up with her mother, she often followed alongside her to work in homes of rich families. And yeah, her mom only had 3 years of education, but she definitely worked super hard to make sure that Octavia could see better opportunities than she did. Um, Octavia Butler's mindset for writing was just a product of her education. As a young child, she struggled with dyslexia, and this made learning and reading and writing and everything in between super difficult in the classroom. But she had this untouchable passion for storytelling, which is what kept her super determined. Later on, she attended Pasadena City College, uh, which actually really enhanced her writing skills, and she graduated with an associate's degree in '68 and continued taking classes after that. These post grad classes, and she continued her education at California State University in Los Angeles, and then at the University of California, which is also in Los Angeles. And during this post education, she took 2 writing classes, and I know she studied some other things. I know anthropology was one of them, and I believe she took a couple different science classes. But that actually leads me to this quote: "You were always realizing there is so much out there you don't know," and this really shows her open mindset for learning and discovering new things, which I believe is actually super important as a storyteller. Going over some of her challenges. Let me move this really quick so you can see. Um, Dyslexia. This made everything in the classroom really difficult for her. She had this shy personality to her. She grew up super poor, and so opportunities at face value were really scarce. And she also lost her father at the young age of 7. So I couldn't imagine how that felt for her. I know that is um, nothing uh, nothing easy to deal with. Um, right here, above this photo, I needed my fantasies to shield me from the world. That is a quote by Octavia Butler, and I think this really reflects her challenges because, um, it's saying that she actually used her imagination, which ultimately translated to her storytelling to kind of escape from these challenges she was dealing with. And so I think that just really goes to show how passionate she was for storytelling, and that storytelling was more than writing for her. It was a religion for her. Continuing, let's discuss her key influences. Her God given influence towards writing was her passion for storytelling, writing storytelling. Two different things, in my opinion. But this developed at a super young age, and before teachers and other influences noticed her work, she watched this movie, Devil Girl from Mars, and this gave her a super youthful passion to pursue storytelling because after watching this movie, she told herself things like, wow, like, this is it. I can write better than this. I could publish my own story. So that really gave her that, youthful, energetic passion to storytell. Um, However, her largest sense of influence was through her educational journey, as I mentioned earlier. Earlier in her life, her teachers found her work so remarkable and passion filled that a teacher of hers actually encouraged her to submit her work to a science fiction magazine, and this gave her that professional influence that she could take her storytelling to the next level. And take it serious. And her influence also came from a man, Harlan Ellison, who was actually a classmate of hers in her post grad years. And he was actually another science fiction writer, and he encouraged her to attend the Clarion Science Fiction Writers Workshop. Okay, moving on to milestones, let's discuss her major works and accomplishments. She won the Hugo Award and the Nebula Award. She won the Hugo Award for her short story Speech Sounds in 1984, and the Nebula Award in 1985, exactly a year later from Speech Sounds. Bloodchild is how she earned the Nebula Award. And then her most significant award, in my opinion, is the MacArthur Genius Grant Award. She won this in 1995, and I believe this is the most impactful award that she has earned, because it recognizes her profound storytelling and her unique introspective approach to exploring societal issues. And some works that reflect this as well are Kindred in 1979 is when it was published. It confronts the realities of slavery. Wild Seed, which was made a year later in 1980, this explores the themes of power and survival through the relationship of two immortals. So again, taking that dystopian approach. And Parable of Sour, which is what I will be discussing later on, it's a dystopian tale that explores faith and hope through a collapsing society. Continuing on, let's talk about her impact on science fiction as a whole, as a genre. And in her own way, Octavia Butler transformed science fiction. This was a genre mainly dominated by white male authors. As an African American woman, she brought new ideas and themes to science fiction. Many of her works explore themes such as religion, race, identity, and this gives her science fiction approach. It gives her this really introspective, deep humanist style to her work. And she really expanded the scope of real world issues through her work. And these two examples that I put down here, Kindred, it centers around a black woman, as well as Parable of Sour, it centers around a black woman. So it really brings those introspective ideologies to her work, but they both attack it from a science fiction way. And one confronts the pain of slavery, as Parable of Sour confronts themes of survival and religion. So once again, these are super introspective themes and deep themes that she brought to the table with her work. Okay, now diving into Parable of Sour, I included a picture here of the graphic novel because that is the one we read in class. In my opinion, the graphic one made it a lot better. I loved reading it. It was super cool. It was a really cool book to read. It is a dystopian science fiction novel and was published in 1993, and it takes place in the future. And throughout the novel, it follows a girl named Lauren who finds herself navigating through a period of economic and societal destruction. And the main ideology I took away from this book, as Lauren deeply expresses, is that God is change. Okay, so going through this book, I want to talk about the two main themes that I think are developed super well throughout the book. And I want to start off with religion. So early in the novel, Lauren rejects her father's Christian Baptist style views, which ultimately influences her to create her own religion in a sense, which is Earthseed. And Earthseed sees that God is change. And I'll explain that here in a minute. But Earthseed shows Lauren's resilience towards her environment, and her creating this religion is a real, or I say quote unquote religion, is a pivotal step towards the hope she has in her heart. And this leads me to this quote right here from her diary that she actually, she had a diary that she wrote in throughout the novel, and I think This quote right here from it does the perfect job of explaining what earthseed is. Um, all that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. And I love this. I love this passage from Lauren's diary in the novel because it shows her core principles of Earthseed, what it is, but it also has a touching way of letting readers know that she hopes for people not only to shape their future, um, but to not endure their current situation. Um, so yeah, God has changed. All that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Okay, furthermore, let's talk about the next theme that I think does a great job developing throughout this book, which is survival. And survival, it's a really common theme throughout a ton of different narratives, different movies, different sorts of literature. Um, but I think Parable of Sour, specifically Lauren, she has a different approach to survival, which I'll get into here in a sec. Um, an environment full of collapse and destruction, she doesn't see survival as just a necessity, but she sees it in a strategic and planned choice to survive. Um, to her, survival requires more than just the desire to survive. It takes action and a strategic plan, which leads me to this quote. Um, I can't afford to let my fears of what might happen trap me. I can't afford to let them stop me from, keyword, preparing for what I believe will happen. And I love this text because it shows her mindset towards survival when planning to escape her gated walls within her community. Because of the threat, drug abuse, and violence that is going on around her, uh, this quote, right, or this line from the quote, I will highlight it right here. I can't afford to let them stop me from preparing. This tells us that preparation is her biggest concern. Um, when faced with the will to survive. And this foresight is actually justified when her community is attacked and destroyed. Okay, so that kind of leads me to wrapping things up here, um, going over her achievements and struggles leading up to everything in between, and then talking about the parable to Sour and the two main themes that I think do a great job developing throughout the book. Um, this really highlights the significance of her legacy as a storyteller. She went from poor, humble beginnings in California all the way to receiving the MacArthur Genius Award. Um, this shows how powerful of a step she's taken in science fiction. Um, and to me, her legacy empowers readers to confront our societal and environmental issues while taking that step to reshape our future ourselves. And that's it. I want to leave y'all with this one last quote from her right here. You got to make your own worlds. You got to write yourself in. Whether you were part of a greater society or not, you got to write yourself in. And I think this is an amazing quote, and it really wraps up her legacy because she was counted out. She grew up very poor, not a lot of opportunity, dyslexia, losing her father, but she knew her passion for storytelling and she wrote herself in. She counted herself in. She said, I can do this. I have a passion for storytelling. I have issues I want to confront. And ultimately, she did. So, yeah, this is my presentation on Octavia Butler. And these are my sources all right here. I've listed my images and the two main sites I used for my research on this project. So, um, once again, thank you for listening to this presentation, author discussion, and yeah.